Now. Go.
Hello, Pulaski County. Judge Executive Steve Kelly here. I want to welcome you to this broadcast, to this Facebook Live session. We're going to update, talk about some new developments with the coronavirus, some things that, some announcements we need to make. But I've got a special guest with me today. Today, you're going to be blessed to hear District Judge Katie Sloan. She's going to be talking about the coronavirus through her perspective and through her the court system and how it's affected things and what she sees happening, and maybe give us some future predictions that we may or may not be able to see. But anyway, we're looking forward to talking with her and letting you hear from Judge Katie. But before I do, I just want you to know, as always, that Pulaski County government is committed to providing sound leadership and safety for its citizens during this uncertain time. We're going to do all we can to make sure we're prepared to protect you and your family, however we need to, for whatever situation may arise. We're communicating regularly with key professional people in this county from all different areas, trying to accurately assess the needs that we have as a community so that we can prepare to meet those needs through our Emergency Operations Center, where I'm broadcasting from today. So thank you for tuning in. We are going to get through this. It's a temporary storm, and just want to appreciate you for being patient. You all have done very well, and we'll go through the numbers here in just a minute. But before we do, I want to introduce Judge Katie Sloan. Many of y'all know her as just Judge Katie. So it's good to have you with us today, Judge.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, Judge Kelly.
Well, it's pretty afternoon. It's not quite warm enough for me yet, but it's beautiful outside. But anyway, I just want to, I'm glad you had time to come on with us today, and maybe you can update the folks of how your life has changed in the last 30 days and how the courts have changed.
It has changed, and I want to say good afternoon to everybody in Pulaski County. I just wish I could see you right now. I am such a person that likes to interact with people. It's kind of hard to sit and just look at this screen. At least I can see Judge Kelly, though. So
sorry.
What's kind of happened over the past month or so is that on about, I think it was March the 12th, we got a order from the Chief Justice, Justice Minton, of the Kentucky Supreme Court. And basically it did not close the court because we're still open, so to speak, but it limited the number of cases that were going to be held in the courtrooms down to basically essential cases. So let me give you an example of what essential cases are. Like people that have been arrested and need to be arraigned. That means brought before the court the first time, because that's under time limitations. Juveniles, like emergency with juveniles, emergency guardianships, EPOs, emergency protective orders, things like that. We're still supposed to be hearing those, and we are. So what that order did was say we're going to very much so limit the cases that are going to be heard. And that first order said that we're going from March the 16th till April the 10th. Then we had a second order come out, and it extended it from April the 10th to May the 1st. So just this past week, the Chief Justice has issued the third order, and now we are basically kind of under a very limited court till the end of end of May. So we're not even going to be up and running full speed, if at all, until June 1st under the current orders. And so our judges, like Judge Kelly said, and I'm so appreciative of the fact that I get to serve as one of your 2 district court judges. You've got 6 here in Pulaski County. You've got circuit judges, Jeff Burdett and Jerry Cox. He's been newly appointed to the circuit bench. You've got your 2 family court judges, Judge Marcus Vanover and Judge Jane Venners, and then 2 district court judges, Judge Scott Lawless, and then myself. So all of us have been doing court. We've just been doing it remotely. The parties are remote. There's nobody in the courtroom. There's no foot traffic coming into the judicial center. Anything that needs to be filed can be filed by e-filing, mail, or there's actually a drive-through window there at J.S. Flynn's office, and he's your circuit court clerk. So like many other occupations, what happened immediately, and a lot of people understand this, is that not only were we having to adapt to brand new protocol on how to conduct court via Skype, via Zoom. We became, it seemed like IT experts there. Also, we were getting information on what happens when some COVID-19 issues start getting presented to the court system. So we had to educate ourselves really fast, and the Chief Justice and everybody up there in Frankfurt's done a really good job educating us so that when we have to start issuing rulings on potential COVID-19 issues, that we've got all that information. So even though we've been down, we've been really busy because we've been scheduling things remotely. We've been learning how to include people that aren't just the lawyers, but ordinary citizens out there so they can have their day in court. And we've also been reading up on all this legal stuff and the things we need to know, as well as attending many webinars. They have been having, and this has been awesome. The first webinar I attended back in March, it had people there online. They're online, but they were from California all the way to Guam. And there were almost 900 people attending this remote webinar on issues involving pandemics. So that's kind of what we've been doing. We've been staying busy, but basically staying busy at home and staying away from people. And we're supposed to try to stay away from people and set an example.
I think you all always do that. We always look up to our judges. We've got a great staff, or a great bench, I guess is the right word, of judges there. But proud of you all and what you do. I've got a question for you. Just recently, you know, with the governor making his orders that churches couldn't meet, especially with Easter Sunday, they refused to allow churches to meet, but some did. And now I understand that there may be a lawsuit filed against the governor. This is probably a first in the history of our country that we've had to stop churches from meeting. How's that going to play out in your eyes?
That's a good question. And here's the thing. The virus, you know, is novel. All these issues we're facing are novel because we've never had to do this before. And I was going to tell you this also. Whenever I attended this conference this past week, it was on constitutional issues that are affecting and can be affected during this pandemic. Some of the issues are exactly that: the closing of churches, whether or not businesses can be closed. Does it amount to an illegal taking? Can people be quarantined? Can people be under orders of isolation? What if people need to be tested for the disease? I mean, all these things are raising constitutional issues. Whether statute of limitations can be told, in other words, extended so people can still file lawsuits, and whether or not the court system can be hampered, because you've got the issue of jury trials. Well, we can't have juries come in. You've got the issue of speedy trials that defendants have the right to have. Fortunately, none of them have really been raised yet. To my knowledge, I don't think any other judges have any COVID-19 issues raised. I had one slight issue a couple of weeks ago, and it was somebody that was requesting not a protective order, but a mental health issue. But anyway, that's the only one that I've had. But we don't know the answers to these questions. I wish I could say that, well, the only one I do know the answer to that was addressed was about the federal government, i.e. the president being able to reopen businesses. And that's a clear no, that it falls on the states, period. But the rest of them are still up in the air because the court system has never had to address any of these things. And you can only compare them to cases that have been heard in the past. For example, if you're talking about whether somebody can be tested against their will for the virus, the only thing I think that we have to compare that to is back in the time when we had the smallpox outbreak. And the question wasn't testing, it was, can they be ordered to be vaccinated? They could then. And so we've just got to compare and look at each case on a case-by-case basis, if that makes any sense. But the funny part was at the end of that conference, it lasted, I don't know, an hour and a half or so, and it was completely all constitutional issues. I felt refreshed after listening to it because I actually heard things about this virus that you weren't hearing constantly on TV. You know, the same things over and over. It was kind of refreshing because it gave us a standpoint on new issues that you just don't hear circulating out there, but within the legal community.
It's just something that I don't think about on a regular basis. I'm sure the general public doesn't think about how the court systems are operating and what they're going to be facing, but it's interesting to hear you talk about it. How about the folks that were perhaps incarcerated and awaiting trial when all this happened and you had to stop the court system? What have we done with with the majority of those people? Are they still incarcerated awaiting their trial, or have they been furloughed? What's the status there, and how does that play out?
That's another issue. Like things that have been affected are, for example, no jury trials. We've not been able to have any of those. Bonds are being set differently because we have been encouraged to release when we can. So the vast majority of the people that have been arrested, they have been arraigned within a couple of days, and most of them have been released. So what the jailers are doing, Wednesday, when you had Dr. Richard Van Dam from Oakwood present, and he was talking about trying to keep the residents at Oakwood safe, that's what the jails are doing. Because if this gets into the jails, it is going to be very hard for them to not only control it, but provide the medical treatment for inmates. And then if it requires hospitalization, who has to stay on guard for those inmates at the hospital? Who has the staff in order to do that? Plus, I'll remind you, Judge, who's going to have to pay the bill for that?
Yeah, you don't have to remind me. It's
So
all the taxpayers doing it, but it falls back into the lap of the court. So yeah, it's
right. So I've been really conscientious to release everybody that can be released. So and so the way the protocol is working is at the jails, if I understand it correctly, they are keeping the new arrests separate and not putting them with general population until they're arraigned. And so what that's happening is the jail now has a camera or a computer set up just like you and I do right now that's got a video monitor on it. And so they're bringing each inmate into the computer room, the inmate's sitting down on the computer, and we're going over their rights with them, explaining the charges to them, and having them either plead not guilty or they plead guilty. And we do this all by computer. Everybody's remote. So if they're let out on bond, once their bond is adjusted, then they don't have to go back into the jail. And so the jailer doesn't have to worry about putting new people into his mix of the people that have already been there for a while. Some lawyers have been filing motions for bond so that their clients can have their bonds amended so that they can get out and not be put in fear of catching this while in the jail. So that's kind of how that's been working. It's been working out pretty well. I think the defendants kind of seem they think it's kind of neat to be appearing on a computer screen and seeing all the parties right there in front of them. And I've got to add this. I've got to give kudos, big time kudos, because the jailers, the clerks, the clerk staff, within just a matter of hours, literally, had systems up and running. Like in the courtroom, the computer in the courtroom has to be running in such a way that the video, like what we're doing now, is going and recording into the record. So the clerks have stepped up and learned that really fast. The jailers obtained laptops, learned that really fast. All the lawyers have. At the very beginning, we did a couple of test runs with people that wanted to, and it's just working out incredibly well for technology, because usually I have a problem, but there's not been any glitches at all.
Okay, that's neat. Let me throw this out now. President has given his plan and phases to get the economy going again. I know the governor has talked about it. We're having discussions on the local level and the state level, and everybody's just anticipating time when we can start again, when we can ease out of the restrictions that we're in. How important is it to you as a court to be on the front side of getting started again, or would you all rather just keep going and err on the side of caution and stay a little longer doing what you're doing? What are your thoughts on getting going with the economy whenever everybody else tries to get going?
Well, this would be a personal answer on my behalf. I've watched in the past week or so, how China reopened. They were closed for 76 days. They reopened, had a big celebration, like our 4th of July, sort of. And now their cases are going back up again. And that is very concerning to me. I do whatever the Chief Justice of the Kentucky Supreme Court tells me to do. And if he tells me that we're going in and opening up, that's what we'll do. I don't think it's a good idea personally to have all of a sudden all these crowds, because really at the last of February, in the Pulaski District Courtroom, it was standing room only, and not even standing room only. The aisles were full of people just so that I could read their rights. It's how packed those rooms were. And obviously that's not a good idea to put all those people in that room together like that. And if you didn't even have them come in the courtroom, if you had them standing outside, they're still all congregating out in the hallway. So I don't know. I have no idea. I don't see any foreseeable future. I don't even know when we're going to have jury trials again. So I guess we just play it by ear. And right now we're under orders, like I said, until the 1st of June. And it would not surprise me if that gets extended, but if it doesn't, then we'll do what we're told to do. That's all we can do.
It's definitely a very difficult decision that has to be made at the top level and trickle down. But, what we really have to think about, we've got to think about, the integrity of lives and how important it is to be safe and protect lives. But then also, as this economy continues to slow down, we're going to see more bankruptcies. We're going to see more, businesses closing. You're seeing a lot of physical health issues, mental health issues that are developing. I heard just this past week that suicide attempts have been increasing. It's a very fine line to walk and to try to find a balance of how to move forward. It's a tough situation to be in, and I pray for our leaders that have to make these tough decisions because it's what they're elected to do. It's what I'm elected to do, and I have to like you said, submit to the authority above me and to any higher authority. And I've got to try to follow their leadership, but also on a local level, I have to step up and try to lead as I can. But there's a lot of tough decisions, and it's the debates can be had on which way is better, which way is worse. But the fact is, it's important. Every idea, every action is important to a whole bunch of people in different ways, and we have to be sensitive to the whole population.
Exactly. And you know what? I have to say this, that one, I am really, really blessed that the Chief Justice came out with that order when he did, because that allowed me to operate remotely. And I want to tell you, Judge, you already know this, but I'm going to tell everybody else. I think this is day 31 that I've not been anywhere in public. The last time I was out was on St. Patrick's Day, bright and early in the morning. It was to Office Depot to pick up some ink for my printer because I knew I was going to need it because I figured I was going to be at home. So, and the reason for that is because my mom is 81 years old and she lives just across the street here, and I have to tend to her. And I don't want to take a chance that she get infected with this, because then what do? Then she'll be in a hospital and we won't even be allowed to see her. So I want to, take precaution there. And another thing I want to add is that from setting bonds, we have to set bonds every morning and we have to set bonds in the evenings. Arrests have been very, very low. So I don't see that people are, taking advantage of this and going out and committing any kind of offenses. Like this morning, I set no bonds. And what that means is that nobody was arrested overnight. That doesn't mean the police are not doing their job, because they still are, but people seem to be behaving and doing what they're supposed to do for the most part during this time. We're not seeing hardly any offenses. Yesterday afternoon, I don't think I set any bonds. Yesterday morning, I think I set one. So that is incredible, because, on holiday weekends in the summertime, typically, we may have 12 or 14 bonds in one morning to set for anywhere from like DUIs or PIs or people out in the lake and stuff like that. So the crime rate, at least right now, is as low as I have ever seen it, ever. So that's a good thing.
Well, I think, anytime you have a crisis, there's an opportunity to go either way. And you can either, it can be an attention getter to pull everybody together, to, settle everybody down, or if it's too much of a crisis, it can result in panic and chaos. And at that point you could see it go the other way. So I'm just thankful that our first responders, law enforcement, are prepared and are on standby to deal with anything. But I'm thankful also that we have seen calmness and collected, nature of our people here at home.
And I want to share this that I'm kind of excited about for next week. My upcoming webinars that I get to watch, they're doing one that's for courts, rural courts. And this is nationwide. This is put on by the National Judicial College out in Nevada. But one is for specifically rural courts. But the other one that I'm really excited about, it's called, let's see, how's it go? It's called Lessons Learned from Around the World. And there's going to be judges there live from Germany, Italy, Spain, and the United States. So that's going to be not just a United States broadcast. That's going to be, it sounds like a worldwide, so to speak, broadcast. So if I have any extra news from that one, I'll certainly let you know.
Just send that along. Anytime you're welcome. We'd love to hear it. Well, Judge Katie, I want to thank you for giving us your time. I know your time is valuable right now, and I told you I wouldn't keep you very long, but I've got a few updates that I'd like to make. If you want to hang on just a minute or two,
I sure will.
Interrupt me to tell me something else, feel free to do it. But I just want to
thank everybody for what they're doing, because they're out there and they're risking their lives every day, from healthcare providers to law enforcement to everybody that's emergency. So I appreciate that.
We're all in this together, and those folks are doing a great job. So yeah, we'll keep praying for all those people and praying for each other, and we'll get through this. But anyway, I just want to update you some numbers. As of today, we have had a total of 34 cases, of which 24 have recovered and have gone home. So that's great. Of course, we had 2 deaths as a result of the COVID-19 virus, and I think we have 8 right now that are in self-isolation. We don't have any that are hospitalized from Pulaski County. I think there may be a couple from around the region, but not from Pulaski County. So we're doing a good job. We're seeing a flat curve. Just be careful, because we don't want to see numbers spike. Don't get lulled to sleep here. Stay diligent in your efforts to be safe, to sanitize, to avoid crowds, to do all the things that the CDC has recommended. Just continue to do your part. We will get through this eventually. When we do, we're poised and ready to lead the way out of this in our region, and I think our country is poised to lead the way globally. So just be patient as we go through this. I want to make an announcement about the testing that the governor mentioned yesterday at his 5 o'clock broadcast. We've talked for a couple of weeks now. The governor has called, and we've talked about how to set up a drive-through testing facility. And originally they were going to do it at the Kroger shopping center, but we have talked to our health department and other locals here, the first responders, and we have a plan now in place that we're going to do this drive-through testing at the Center for Rural Development parking lot. So I need people to get that word out. It's not going to be at Kroger's. Kroger's is sponsoring this. And in order to be tested, you have to be pre-approved and pre-registered through krogerhealth.com/COVID testing. Again, that's krogerhealth.com/COVID testing. You have to be pre-approved and pre-registered to be able to be tested. Their plan is starting on Tuesday at 8:30 in the morning and to 5:30 every day. For 3 days, they're going to try to administer 1,000 tests, and that'll be Pulaski and the contiguous counties. So if you want to be part of that, I think you have to be showing symptoms, but you need to be pre-approved and pre-registered at Kroger, or else when you pull in the parking lot, you will be escorted out the other side and you won't be able to get tested. So that's coming up Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Want you all to know, too, that we are in discussions locally and at the state level about how to and when to reopen our businesses, and President Trump has talked about doing that in phases. We're also going to be ready to go as soon as the green light is given. We want to have a plan in place that we can start getting people back to work. It's important to get our people back to work. So we are having those discussions, and probably be reaching out to many of you in the business community over the next week to set up some conference calls and have some discussions. Roundtable discussions to figure out best ways of doing this. So that's coming up. Let me give you 3 phone numbers that I need to pass out. First, we have our Pulaski County Essentials Hotline. If you're having trouble getting your medicines, getting food, for whatever reason, if you don't have a vehicle because maybe you're not getting your paycheck and you've lost your vehicle, if you're quarantined by your doctor or other health professional, perhaps you just feel vulnerable with the category or your health situations, you don't want to get out. If you need help, please call our hotline. That number is 606-451-0810. Again, 606-451-0810, and we will get you the help that you need. Please let us do that for you if you need that help. Then we have a Kentucky reporting hotline. If you see businesses that are not complying with the governor's orders, he's given this hotline out to report. That's 833-597-2337. Again, 833-597-2337. And finally, I had Charlene Taylor here on behalf of the unemployment office when was that? Wednesday, I guess. And they are overwhelmed. They're trying to get to you and help you out there. But there is a number you can call, and even if it's busy or you can't get through, keep trying, because they will eventually be able to help you. So that number is 502-564-2900. Again, 502-564-2900. So thank you all for your patience. Judge Katie, it's always a pleasure. I love hearing your perspective on things, and I know you're a people person and you're a social person, and I always see you all around the community. So I know it's tough for you having to stay home and be isolated, but thank you for your time.
Thank you. And can I add just one thing I forgot to mention?
Certainly.
Any cases that can be resolved, that are typically resolved without a court appearance, for example, probates, certain civil matters, those are moving along as always. I simply go up there, get my basket, sign everything, put it back, and they take it from there. So there's not a dent in there. So if you've got any kind of probate action or one of those civil type cases that normally get heard without a court appearance, you're still good to go.
Well, I've for years now, I've told Judge Katie that I think she needs her own television show. So, you're getting practice here. So I'm looking forward to seeing that here before long. But,
this is probably the closest I'm going to get right here.
well, you're natural. Well, anyway, Pulaski County, thank you all for tuning in. And until next time, just take care of each other. Stay safe. I'll be praying for you, and I ask that you pray for your government and your leaders and each other. And just let's just love one another, and we'll get through this. So thank you all, and God bless you.
Thank you.